There are risks and costs to action, but they are far less than the long-range risks of comfortable inaction.
This is SPRH Podcast, where business experts help you to take massive action. With your hosts, corporate and keynote speakers Matt Ward and Dan Candell. Change your business, change your life, and start now.
Hi, and welcome to the SPRH Podcast. I'm Dan Candell, here with Matt Ward and our special guest today. Matt, you've owned businesses, right?
I have. Have you?
I have, and I do. And sometimes you feel like you get burnt out, don't you?
Just sometimes.
I know, right? There's this like business burnout that we all have. And then when we're doing well financially and when we're doing well in business, sometimes we're not really doing well with our health. We forget to pay attention to our health, and sometimes we just start declining. And when that happens, our business declines too. If we're not feeling good, we're not performing well.
Yeah, it's like falling face first in your cereal in the morning.
We always go back to food. You can tell we're very hungry.
Hey, you're lucky I didn't mention the Big Mac pizza this time around.
Oh, you just did it again. You just did it again. Well, to our listeners, to our Square Peg Round Holers, today's guest is all about health, wellness, productivity, high performance, and she's going to help us out with it. She's going to help you out with this as well. So please welcome to our podcast today, Jeanette Brunet. Welcome, Jeanette.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward.
Did I do that
happy
right?
To see you, Jeanette.
Jeanette.
What did you say, Dan?
Jeanette Brunet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got it.
It's Danish, Dan.
Listen,
like
as
what
long
I
as
had for breakfast. Danish.
as long as you don't call me Janet Brownie, I'm in good shape.
Awesome.
Brownie.
Jeanette, as you know, we help small business owners take massive action. Can you share with our listening audience what massive action you have taken and what the results of that massive action were?
Yes. I think of self-care as sort of like a overhaul, but not an overhaul of ourselves as much as it's an overhaul of our habits. So one of the things I do when I start a new year, for example, things like that, I go through my habits and I look at them and I'm looking at them like, okay, are these making sense for me? Are they getting me to where I really want to go? And that's kind of like a massive, massive action that I take on a regular basis. Actually, it's kind of like a little evaluation process. And I think it's a healthy one to do as long as we do it with the right mindset.
Mindset is everything, isn't it?
It is. It really is. It's the intent, right?
It is the intent. Yeah. And what kind of started you off on this journey?
I was in the fashion business, and I was on that edge of burnout and exhaustion day in and day out, pretty much living on coffee and not living my best healthy life. I was in my 30s, late 30s. And all of a sudden my dad calls me on the phone. He goes, I got some good news and some not so good news. And I'm like, all right, let's hear it. And one of them was about our stocks having taken off. And I was like, all right, so what's the bad news? Can't be that bad. He's like, we have to sell them. I was like, what's bad about that? And he goes, I have cancer. And so it was this like, all of a sudden, there you are. And I go into action mode on those kinds of things. I'm all right, what do we need to do? What can we do? What can we do? But within 3 months of him starting therapy, my mother got cancer too. So there I was, 2 people in my life, which are the closest I have. I'm an only child with cancer, and one of them possibly not surviving. And little did we know, my mother died before my dad. And within a year apart, they both go. And I'm like, seriously, what's going on here? I need to rethink my life. I need to rethink what I'm doing. I need to figure out what's important to me. And I asked myself a series of questions. And part of it was, what matters? Why do I do what I do? And what will I look back on having done that really feels like it made a difference? And so I completely pulled the plug on my career and started over. I'm not saying all of us have to do that. Right. In terms of rethinking what we do. But I think now I can rethink along the way, so it doesn't come to that point where you just like have to start completely over to be on course.
Not so much on our podcast, but we hear a lot in general, people saying, oh, I hate my job. I'm so stressed out. I can't stand it. Change it. Change it. If something is that stressful to you, if something is that anxiety producing to you, you have to change it, because you can learn to live with it. But often when you learn to live with it, it's not going to produce those healthy results that you want. and you can fulfill your passion much more. And Matt and I talk about this all the time, about sometimes cutting things out to make room for more things.
Yeah.
And someone on our podcast said, when you say yes to one thing, you say no to something else.
Yes. Yeah.
And often that thing you say no to could be something more fulfilling. It could be something better. So we have to be careful sometimes of what we agree to do and what we say yes to. And I think it's important. You said you were keeping track of your habits. I think it's important to do that as well, because then you can look and see what incongruencies there may be with your habits so you can change them.
All right. So that just sounds like a lot of work. I mean, keeping track of anything. People can barely keep track of their weight, you know? I mean, they get on this, they do this thing on New Year's every year where they say, I'm going to watch my weight. And then they start tracking stuff. And then like you see 3 weeks into January, they stop writing it on the calendar. That's just one example. Right. There are many other examples, business related examples. I'm going to get to the office at 8 a.m. every day and they start tracking it and doing it. And then boo, 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 falls off. Like, I mean, if we're tracking our habits, isn't that a job in and of itself?
You can look at it that way. I look at it as everyday mindfulness and just being present to, oh, okay, this worked, that this didn't work. Instead, we're getting into this place of spending so much time repeating our thoughts around, oh, this doesn't work, but I'm doing it anyway. Well, if you feel that it doesn't work, there is a pretty immediate thing of going back and saying, okay, what would work? How can I get the result that I want? But I think we're stuck in our habits sometimes thinking that just because we have it, we have to keep it. Or just because it works, like, does it really work? It may work to, let's say, rush out the house in the morning to get to work and have your breakfast in the car. Okay, that might work for you because you get there on time. But does it work for you in terms of having enough energy for the rest of the day? So you can look at it and be like, wait a minute, it works for the immediate result that I want, but does it work for the little bit long-term result that I want? Maybe not. And then we get back, and then we go into the coffee habit because now we don't have energy because we don't have food. Now we're drinking coffee, and then by the afternoon, we're hitting the sugar.
Right.
Right. And so if we just look at that for a moment and go like, wait a minute, what I'm doing with this habit about not having enough time in the morning to actually have a proper meal, what's the real habit I need to change? So it's not 3 habits, it's 1 habit, and that is to get up a little earlier.
So what are some general things when you work with people, and specifically people in business? Are there specific things that you lay out for people that work for everybody, or is it about finding what works individually for each person?
I'm going to say one thing works for everybody. I'm just kidding. But that's what we think, right? We think there's one answer.
We think that somebody has the answer. Right.
Like, somebody has the answer and I got to find it. And that's exactly my whole point, is that we do have the answer, but it's ourselves. It's within our very own body. Because some people, we all have different patterns throughout the day. And sometimes people like to get up early because that's a natural thing for them. I'm just picking that as one of the habits that everybody tends to focus on in terms of taking charge of their health, and they're getting as much done as possible. As an example, like, I got to get up earlier so I can get more done. Maybe not. But I think we need to know ourselves better. I think that's what it comes down to. And I think it's a simple inward question. Like, what is it that I really want right now? Why do I really want it? What do I need so I can get it? And if we can just ask ourselves those 3 simple questions, I think we can get a little bit more in touch.
What were those again?
What do I really want right now? Why do I want it? And what do I need so that I can get it?
And questions are very important in personal and professional change. Because a lot of people are always searching for the problem and often the cause of the problem. They want to know why there's a problem. But I find that chasing the problem leads to more of those problems. We have to ask ourselves more solution-oriented questions.
Yeah.
And going on your website, I noticed that questions are a big part of your process and a big part of what you do. So can you explain a little bit more about some of the discovery questions you might ask people, or some of the discovery questions we might have to go through?
Sure. I think that one of the basic ones is that we're always asking ourselves, why is this not working? And so the unconscious mind will say, hold on, I got that. I'll help you out. I'll work on that in the background. You just go do your own thing and I'll figure out why it's not working. And so all the things we're looking for and all the things we're chasing is why it's not working. Now, there's a good chance that will dig up all the dirt, right? It will dig up all the reasons why we're failing, all the reasons why it's not working, instead of just acknowledging, wow, this is not working.
Right.
And then ask, what do I need so that I can make it work? Now the unconscious mind has a job to do. It'll be, I'll figure that one out for you too, because your unconscious mind will do whatever you tell it to do. And that's why the negative self-talk really digs a big hole for us.
And that's why it's important to ask solution-oriented questions, because the unconscious mind, if we're looking for a problem, even if there's not one, it's going to find one for you.
Yeah, it will. It will.
And it'll sometimes create problems where there aren't ones.
Right. We only find what we're looking for, right?
Yeah. You know, I find myself juxtaposed on this podcast today because I'm sitting here with two mindfulness experts thinking I am out of my mind. This is like, you know, I mean, I'm thinking I'm outgunned, I'm out mindfulness, you know, and listeners, if I could explain to you just for a minute what the feeling is to be in the hot seat, this might be it. Even though they're not talking to me, they're talking to me.
Matt, you feel singled out? Come on.
Well, Matt's over here trying to manifest a Big Mac pizza and a Danish right now.
I don't know, man. It just, it's one of those things, like, you know, when you're around people and they really know their stuff, right? And I've been around Dan a really long time, and he helps a lot of people eliminate anxiety from their life, and he's very good at it. I've told many, many people before that when Dan even does his stage hypnosis shows, I've watched him hypnotize standing people that are standing in front of him in under 7 seconds. It's an amazing, amazing thing to have happen. And now his celebrityism around hypnosis and mindfulness is matched by Jeanette Brunet.
Yes.
And it's like Dan squared on the podcast. And like, I don't know how much more mindful I could get by doubling the mindfulness on the podcast. Is that even a word? But I'm going with it.
We could have a hypno off. Like we
I was about to say, Matt doesn't even know what just hit him.
Sleep.
He's never gonna want a Big Mac again or a Danish.
I don't eat the Big Macs, just the Big Mac pizzas.
There you go.
So
see, it already worked before you even started.
That's funny. How a leader of an organization, a C-level executive, how do they begin to find the time? I feel like time is the biggest problem in small business. It's a rat race. We're constantly running around. We've got employees, we've got sales, we've got project management, we've got all the deliverables, we got travel involved, we have family involved. How do we begin to find the time? Because I do believe that less is more, right? The more narrow your niche, the more beneficial you are. Less time in the office probably means more time for your health. Where do they start, though? Because I think that's the biggest problem.
Yes, I think our relationship with time is something we can consider as what are we looking for. Like, I think it's more about what do we focus on? Because time is the same for all of us. And I think there's so many places where we can spend time a little better. I think we spend a lot of time rehashing the same old thoughts, rehashing the same old problems, rehashing the same old, this is not working. And instead really being very present when that happens and be like, wait a minute, I'm going down the rabbit hole where I'm going to lose another 15 minutes to unconstructive thought process. What can I do right now so that I can move forward? And I find that a lot of times, if we can pause for just a moment, we actually save a lot of time making better decisions. And I think this rushing to do it faster makes us not necessarily do it wrong, but might make us do something that wasn't important. And we tend to just rush for what's urgent. And we tend to lose more time when we're pushing to do it faster, which is a funny thing, but it happens, right? And so this idea that we just pause, even for a minute or two, just be like, okay, what's really important right now? Why does this matter? What is the best solution? We have that pause that can be a little bit of a bigger gap where we can change how we would normally do something instead of just doing something on automatic. It makes us more effective and more efficient in our actions. And the other thing too is I think we believe that taking care of ourselves and being healthy is something we do on our own time. I actually believe we have to do it in the office. And again, it's small moments. One of the things I hear all the time is that people are dehydrated. And the amount of time we lose from being dehydrated because it makes us foggy, we don't have as much clarity in terms of thinking, we are tired, we're more irritable. There's a lot of things that happen. We have more aches and pains in our bodies. We have crazy cravings and false hunger when we're dehydrated. And so this idea that people don't drink enough water for one simple reason, which is what I hear all the time, they don't have time to go to the bathroom. I was like, okay, if you don't have time to pee, I understand that you don't have time for any of these other things, but the amount of time you lose from not drinking enough water and taking out 5 minutes to pee is probably equivalent to what? 15 minutes, maybe an hour of unproductive work or engagements with other people.
So are you saying that being dehydrated lowers productivity?
Yes.
And Matt, there was a time last year when I was seeing so many clients, I said, oh my gosh, I don't even have enough time to wipe my butt. That's an issue.
Yes.
Did you hire someone for that? Like, because I know you like to outsource things.
No, I hypnotized my clients to come to the bathroom with me and say, just wipe my ass.
You know what? You will enjoy
it. You hear that sound, Dan? That was everybody just hanging up the phone and not calling you now.
I got an email one time from somebody that I didn't know. And the person asked me, is there a way to eat so you don't have to go to the bathroom ever? And I was like, and I'm thinking on this for a moment. I'm like, and my only answer back was like, why would you want to? I couldn't even fathom why this was a goal.
Right.
It's like, seriously, so many people have so much pleasure from that bowel movement in the morning, right?
This podcast just turned poopy really fast. It's a crappy subject. No, but honestly,
that was such a bad joke.
But when you look at it though, and you don't have enough time to pee, it's time to restructure your day.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tools and apps that can actually help with this. Like one is, I think, the mindfulness timer where there's different periods.
I thought you were going to tell me that there was a bathroom timer.
That could be, right?
It could be. There
is actually. There is one.
There's an app for everything, right?
You know, and you can get it everywhere. It's called Your Body.
But you're only going to get it for free. You know that, right? We spent $1,000 on the phone, but we won't spend $1 on an app.
Yeah.
Well, we don't need it. We have it with us all the time. It's our very own body. It's just listening to the signals.
Mm-hmm. And what you said is so important. In
Dan's case, it's literally listening to the signals. What happened? What? This mindfulness podcast has turned into poop jokes.
Jeanette is sitting here. She's like, "Oh, these two." People have called us the Howard Stern podcast.
I get the feeling that she has to deal with this every day because it's interesting to me. There's a direct correlation between productivity and biohealth. What did you say?
And pooping.
Oh, this podcast
I think the title of this podcast should be How Your Pooping Schedule Can Improve Your Productivity. With Jeanette Bronet. Jeanette, we may have just given you new speaking topics. You become the poop expert.
Yeah. And seriously, actually, I do believe we need to pay more attention to our poop so we can level up our vitality. I actually do. Because the better the poop, that means that we're eating better. That means we're feeling better. So, what comes first?
How do we judge it?
There's 7.
No, we're not going there.
You want to know? You want to know how to have a healthy poop?
But a big part of what you're saying.
Another podcast for another day.
But listen to what you're saying. Becoming regular by making routines. And not just saying becoming regulars in your bathroom schedule. Becoming regular in your habits. Yes. And making things into a routine.
Yes.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. I do bullet journaling, and which doesn't work. It's not for everyone because it can take a lot of time, but it's just a way of doing a mental dump. Here we go again. But that's what it's called. It's getting these things out of your head.
I'm about to say, you're so full of what I'm not going to.
But it's literally that mental crap that we carry around.
Yes.
People, if you're driving while you're listening to this, to our square peg round holders, I hope you haven't crashed your car yet.
Oh,
And I'm not even sorry.
It's so important because there are so many analogies to how our bodies function that help us be more productive.
They really are. They really are. Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Oh, well.
If you're sitting in traffic right now looking at that porta potty, I am so sorry.
I know. That's actually another thing that happens, right? When you talk about having to pee or whatever,
Yes, yep.
you end up, it just goes to show you how we're self-hypnosing ourselves all day.
We are.
All day long.
Oh my God. Just for the listeners who can't see this, the three of us are literally wiping the tears out of our eyes. We've been laughing so hard for the last 5 minutes.
And we're all doing this from the bathroom. No. We're not.
That would be a good podcast, though, the bathroom podcast.
Yeah.
No,
all right. Seriously, you're right. It's that.
No, I just love the link between, because I had never heard that before, right? I mean, I'm a fairly large guy. I had never heard the link between productivity and performance was related to hydration. And that's an interesting link for me to hear,
Yeah.
And I think that's a good takeaway for our listeners who are running a business and constantly running around doing everything. Some of you might have businesses where you're traveling or you're in the car a lot, and so you listen to a lot of different podcasts. This can be a problem for you. You have to either plan your day accordingly to ensure that you have proper stops so that you can stay healthy. Because the hydration thing is like when I drive 4 or 5 hours to a location or another state, I don't think about stopping along the way to nourish and use the restroom. I don't think about that. Like I will literally drive 6.5 hours without stopping.
Yeah. And you know what? It's actually a good point because I drive a good 3.5 hours on a regular schedule. There's another road that some people say, it's like, oh, that'll save you 15 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but there's no way to stop for bathroom breaks. And I know that I drink water and I drink tea when I'm driving. And so, but also people are complaining all the time. They get tired, they're this and that when they're driving. I'm like, I never had that problem.
Right.
And so it's this idea that what comes first, and if you had a child, I often say that to my clients who are traveling, and they're like, well, you can't get anything anywhere. Bring it along. Like if you had a child, you wouldn't stop over at the gas station expecting to get baby food.
What you're talking about are two very important elements. It's planning and preparation.
Yes.
And that's what is missing and this is one of the reasons why I stopped working with weight reduction. I exclusively work with anxiety and high performance now is because the people would come in and I'd say, I could put you into the deepest state of hypnosis, but ultimately, if you're not going to take the time to plan and prepare, then nothing's going to work for you.
Right.
And they'd realize that there is a little bit, not a lot, but there's a little bit of work in this.
Yeah.
So planning and preparation, planning by taking some water bottles with you, preparing by going to the grocery store and writing a list of snacks or of superfoods that you can bring with you when you're on long car drives or when you're going to be in the office. It's better to snack on superfoods a couple of times throughout the day than it is to have 2 huge meals because then you're going to feel exhausted throughout the day. Your productivity level is going to go down. So just doing a little bit of research in this and a little bit of planning and preparation and being true to that planning and preparation, making it a routine and a habit can really help boost your productivity levels. It can help you feel happier. It can help you feel lighter throughout the day, help you feel better about yourself and what you're doing.
Yep. And it's interesting because I actually know about myself that I'm just as productive in the afternoon as I am in the morning. And for a lot of people, that's not the case. And the reason why I am is because I take a 1 hour for lunch and I sit down and I have a proper lunch. Mm-hmm. And my energy is right where it needs to be when I get back to work, and I can work for hours again. I pause in between. I do my every 45 to 90 minutes. I stop, I get some water, yes. I go pee, and I get back to work. Yep. And I am on my energy and my attention. And that's really what it's all about, right? Are we able to pay attention in a very consistent basis? Like, for example, have you ever had a productive meeting with a hangry person?
No.
Right? But there we are. We're like, I'm running to a meeting. I'm going to, just get ready for the meeting and jump right in and we're bringing our paper, we're bringing whatever we're needing to do, but we're not bringing our bodies with us to the meeting.
Right. And we'll have brain fog if we're too hungry, and then we'll have brain fog if we're too hungover from eating too much. We have that food hangover. This is all really important stuff. And, a lot of it to our listeners might sound very elementary, but it's very important. And they're simple little things. These things can be so simple. You just have to do them, put them into place, and try it out. Do it for a week or two and see how it works. And do a little audit after that 2 weeks and say, okay, how was I feeling? What was my productivity level 2 weeks ago versus today? And when you implement these little changes, you're going to notice that your productivity level goes up, your focus, your concentration goes up. You're going to notice that your motivation increases. And Jeanette, you were saying about every 60 to 90 minutes or 45 to 90 minutes, and we have these alternating rhythms, these rhythms that, and when you know your rhythm throughout the day, of, okay, if my focus starts to wane or wander, I know I got to get up and I have to separate from task and then go back to it. You need that mindset reset.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons, exactly to your point, this is so basic that we simply forget to do it. Because what happens is that we have discounted how important our bodies are as our most important tool to get our best work done every single day.
Exactly. This is the thing. The misconception is that, if I eat too much or if I eat too consistently throughout the day, or I'm going to gain weight, so I have to stop eating and I have to starve myself. And that's not true. Those are all ways that are going to ruin your metabolism and ruin your body. And when we're not feeling good, we're not performing good. So that's why it's really important to make these little adjustments. I'm not even going to call them changes. I'll call them adjustments to your life. And again, they're small ones. They're easy ones to make. So go out and this is the foundation. Now, Jeanette, when people are done with the foundation, how do they reach out to you for more?
You can find me my blog is at pathforlife.com, and you can find different resources there. And to reach me for consulting or speaking engagements, it is JeanetteBonnet.com. But you can find me through Path for Life as well. That's the company website where we also do company wellness programs and things like that. So
excellent. Well, Jeanette, thank you so much for being on with us today, for helping our square peg round holers take massive action and massive other things that we talked about as well.
Thank you for having me. This was
Thanks
fun.
for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Matt, what's your Yahoo moment?
Dan, my Yahoo moment today with Jeanette Ronay is the 3 questions she offered, which are very interesting. I usually, after I do something, like to ask myself questions like, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? Would I do it again? And if so, what would I do differently? But her 3 questions, very interesting, is what do I want now? Why do I want it? And what do I need so I can get it? And I think those are very self-awareness checks, those questions. Again, they are, what do I want now? Why do I want it? And what do I need so I can get it? I think they're very good questions to ask yourself as you're striving for to take more massive action. What about you, Dan?
Well, yeah, you're right, Matt. Questions lead, especially important discovery questions, lead to success. And I got a lot out of this podcast. I mean, talking about how you poo can change what you do. But that wasn't mine. That wasn't mine.
How you poo can change what you do.
How you I see what you did there. My Yahoo moment, though, was about productivity and planning and preparation. And planning and preparation, building things into routine, and that can also make you regular in more ways than one. So to our square peg round holers, again, if you were driving while you're listening to this, we hope you didn't crash your car. We had a lot of fun recording this, and we wish you all very well poo-ductivity.
You just listened to the SPRH podcast with Matt Ward and Dan Candell, where you learn from the pros how to take massive action. Remember, have yourself an action-oriented day.